Hello and welcome to week 2 of NaNoWriMo and to this NaNoRebel writing vlog. My name is Liselle Sambury. I am a traditionally published author and we're coming into the second week of my NaNoRebeling and plans have already changed. So if you watched my vlog from last week, which I will put over here for you, I talked about how this week I was going to be working on my read through for GOODREADS, which is my 2023 book, which is still going to be happening. I will be doing that read through, and I was also supposed to work on revising my proposal for my proposed 2024 book, Bear Hunt. So my reasoning around this was that I wanted to fix and revise everything, send it to my agent, get it back to my publisher in the hopes that they would immediately look at it basically and tell me whether or not that's going to be my 2024 book, because I'm really in a state of anxiety and impatience about knowing what I'm going to be writing for that year. And then I saw a tweet from Jennifer Loughran, who is a literary agent, and she basically said, like, for querying writers or authors who are wanting to go on sub, stop rushing to try and get it done, because there's really only 2 good weeks left in November and 2 good weeks in December for them to have meetings or for, you know, sort of acquisition meetings, that sort of thing. And they're already full. So basically, like, I did see some discourse about this, but I think she made it quite clear. It was not to say that people shouldn't query or like shouldn't go on sub. It was just to say, if you are a writer or an author who is putting pressure on yourself to rush to get something out because you think there's some sort of magical end of the year deadline that you can meet, to not do that, because chances are publishing is way too booked up right now. And so when I saw that tweet, I was like, she called you on your shit, Liselle. She called you on your shit. Because I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. Like, why am I rushing to get this revised right now when, for one, my editor gave me no deadline on this? Like, I have 0 deadline. She was just kind of like, yeah, revise that and get back to us. Again, this is a proposal for a book out in 2024, so I wouldn't even be working on it until 2023. So like 2 years from now. So it's just kind of like, why am I making this a priority right now? Versus my adult horror that I'm wanting to go out on submission with early next year. That book, I need to add 20,000 words and I need to edit it, and so I can send it to my agent for early in December, and I need 3 weeks to do that. So I was like, why would I take this week to work on something that literally is not a priority at all, and then like force myself to like be working into December when I could instead just kind of like go ahead and finish off NaNoWriMo working solely on my adult horror, which is what I wanted to do for NaNoWriMo in the first place. I wanted to work on that project. So why wouldn't I just take the rest of NaNoWriMo to finish that? And at the end of NaNoWriMo, I can have finished the draft of that project. So that's what I decided to do. Bear Hunt, I don't know if I'm gonna work on it the week after NaNoWriMo or if I'm just gonna let myself languish and think about it all the way into the new year. I don't really know. But what I do know is that I am going to try and finish this draft. Not try, I will finish this draft of my adult horror for my agent by the end of NaNoWriMo. So this week, what I'm doing is, again, I'm doing my read-through, my final read-through of GOODREADS. I have to do 5 chapters a day. So I have done that today. And then I must also write 2,000 words every day for the next 2 weeks to add the extra 20,000 words of content that I want to add to The Newlyweds, which is the name of my adult horror. And then The last week of NaNoWriMo, I need to edit everything, the whole book, basically just like go through it and make sure everything is okay in that last week. And so that's my overall goal for NaNoWriMo. That's what I'm going to be working on. Today has been a bit of a shit show because I had to go to the dentist in the morning and then I had to do groceries. So I that pretty much ate up most of my day. It's like 4 o'clock now and I've only now been able to finish doing the read through of the 5 chapters of Butcherbirds I had to do today. So we also have stuff to get done in the afternoon when my boyfriend gets back from work. So yeah, I guess it basically means I have like an hour to write 2,000 words. And like maybe time more later in the evening. So I am going to try and get that done. I was going to push it over to tomorrow, but I also feel like I could write 2,000 words pretty quickly if I put my mind to it. So I'm going to try and do that now and get that done. But I'm happy with this goal. I think this is a very good goal. And I think this will give me a lot more time to think about, to noodle mentally on Bear Hunt instead of having to immediately work on it. And this will let me focus on the project that has a more immediate deadline, even if it's not a contract deadline. But I'm wanting to have this project out on sub early next year, so I want to be able to focus on it. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing right now. So 2,000 words a day for the next 2 weeks. So I will actually be participating in the NaNoWriMo drafting. It's just that I'm drafting in a book that I technically had finished, but I need to add more words to it. And so that's why I have to draft 2,000 words a day, so I can get an extra 20K on it, so it can be closer to 60,000 words. 60,000 words or 70,000? 70,000 words. That's the goal. Hello, I am coming to you with the energy of I am tired, and yeah, that's basically it. So last night I didn't have a great sleep. In all honesty and total transparency, I stayed up too late reading, and then my brain was in the mode of I'm so awake because my brain was stimulated, and so yeah, it made it really hard to get to sleep, and then I was tossing and turning the whole night, so that wasn't great for me. I also had to do errands, so I had to do a bunch of driving back and forth because I had to drive my boyfriend to work and drive back, and then I had to drive to the eyeglasses place to drop off my glasses to get my lens changed, and then I had to drive back to pick up the lenses and also pick up my boyfriend and bring him back home for lunch, and so it made my writing really disjointed, so I am behind for the day, and now I'm tired and I kind of need to take a nap. So I figured I would update because I'm still not done my work for today, and after I have whatever micro nap, I'm basically gonna have to wake up and get stuff done. Though maybe doing this update will wake me up enough and give me enough of a procrastination break that I could just go back and get it done, but we'll see. So today what I've worked on so far is I did the 5 pages, the 5 chapters of Butcherbird's edits. I've also started doing something new, inspired by my copy edit process. So anytime a character shows up, I write down that character name and like details about them in a character master list, which is essentially just to help me keep track of things. It's really for very minor characters who I only mention like once or twice, to make sure if I ever, for whatever reason, need to reference them again, then I at least like know all of them. And then I've also been doing a more detailed chapter summary. So usually my chapter summaries are like one line. So like, let's say for example, in the first chapter, yeah, sure, I'll say this. I was like, do I want to like spoil? And I was like, it's not a spoiler, it's how the book opens. So the book opens with Daisy, who's the main character, essentially stalking her ex-boyfriend. And so my description of the chapter was, Daisy stalks her ex-boyfriend. And now the chapter description is, Daisy stalks her ex-boyfriend. It's his name. It is the girl that he is with. It also says she explains X thing about her ability to see ghosts. She has this experience during the chapter. She notes that she was this age when this thing happened to her. And it's Saturday. So essentially I'm making sure to hit multiples of the points of things that happen in that chapter that I may need to know. I note if a character said that they did something at a certain age, to make sure that if it's referenced in the rest of the book that I'm getting that age consistent throughout. And then I also say the date. So this is more of a copy edits thing to make sure that I am correctly keeping tracks of the dates, because I do have a calendar for my stories, but sometimes I find that when I'm writing, I'll like shift something and I'll forget to change it in the calendar, and then it doesn't match up anymore, or like I won't be as specific in the chapters I need to be about dates, and so that helps me like keep everything aligned. So that's what I've started doing. It's already been really helpful, and I like it because now when I go to do future edits, I will have a much more detailed idea of everything that's happening in every chapter, instead of like one line that says something that's happening in the chapter. So I've been doing that with my read through as I've been going forward. So that's been working out well. And yeah, I finished that like an hour ago maybe, and now I've been into essentially trying to draft for the newlyweds. So I have to draft this chapter and I think a little bit of another chapter. So because I forgot that my total word count was 47,000, it wasn't 50,000. So technically I'm adding 23,000 words, not 20,000 words. So my daily word count goal that I have to hit is actually a little bit more than 2,000. So even though I'm aiming for each chapter to be 2,000 words, I actually have to do a little bit more. So in some cases I'm doing more than one chapter, working on drafting it, because I just have to do that to make sure that I'm hitting the number of words I have to do for the day. So right now I'm working on a chapter. It is in the mist. The home invasion is afoot, and I've essentially created a bit of a twisted game that the kidnappers play. Well, they're not kidnappers, the invaders. The home invaders play with the main characters. I've added that in, and so I'm just kind of going through that, but I didn't ahead of time think of the questions that were going to be involved in the game, and so I have to keep doing it on the fly and like thinking about it, so it's taking me a little bit longer to draft. But overall, at this point, I have about 6,000 words drafted out of the 23,000. So it's coming along good. I just have to get another 1,000 before the day is done. So I'm feeling a little bit tired. I was cold also, but I turned up the heat and I can already feel the heat. So I feel like that will help invigorate me somehow. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. So Butcher Birds we're at chapter 15 of 48, so we're still quite early on, which makes sense because I got to work on this for 2 weeks. And then basically the same thing for the Newlyweds, because we're at about 6,000 out of 20,000 words, and I'm also working on adding those words for 2 weeks. So yeah, it's coming along. Yesterday was much better because yesterday was like, I was at my computer at 9, I was done Butcher Bird stuff by 11, I took a break until 1 p.m. and then I was done the Newlywed stuff by 3. It like felt like a proper work day, but again today because I had errands, it messed me up. And so it's carrying on longer than I would like, and we have to do some house stuff like as soon as my boyfriend gets home. So if I don't finish by 5 o'clock, it's gonna drag on even longer. So yeah, I gotta figure out how to get that done, but I also might need to take like a 20-minute power nap. But anyway, I will update you again on Friday. Talk about books really quick. So if you hate books, I'm sorry, but if you hate books, I just assume you wouldn't be watching my channel. But in the little b-roll before, I showed you my end of the year physical TBR. So the books I own physically, I do have a larger TBR, like books I'm trying to finish before the end of the year than what I have physically. So there are like some ebooks and some audiobooks and stuff. So I think I have like 20 books that I want to finish before the end of the year. So wish me luck with that. But I thought I would show you the ones that I have physically and like say them and like a very, very, very quick reason why I'm excited about it. So All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. I heard this was comp to the Hunger Games, and I'm a Hunger Games host, so I'm definitely gonna read that. Where do book people put their books after? I guess I'll just set it down there. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I've been really enjoying Grady Hendrix books. I read The Final Girl Support Group and Horror Store. I just think they're really fun. So now I'm trying to like read through all his recent stuff, and this is one of them. Oh my gosh, I put my gross fingerprints on it. My Best Friend's Exorcism, also by Grady Hendrix. Again, I'm trying to read through all of his stuff. Not all of it, because he has a lot of books, but like at least like the ones that have come out recently. Also, it's an exorcism, which I always love, so there's that. We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I really liked The Haunting of Hill House, so I wanted to read this one. I've actually tried to read it twice, and each time I get bored, so I don't know how well this is gonna go, but I do want to try and finish it. Summer Bird Blue by Acme Dawn Bowman. I read Starfish from her and I absolutely loved it. I cried. I was very moved, and so I've been wanting to read her second book. Also, I wanted to read more books with like ace representation, ace-R representation, and that's in this book. And Five Little Indians by Michelle Good. I just keep hearing people talk about this book and like look at all the awards it's won, and so I really want to read it. And I've been trying this year to read more from Indigenous authors, so I'm excited to read this one. And then finally, Indigenous Rights by Chelsea Vowell. It's like a guide to First Nations, Métis, and Inuit issues in Canada. Again, trying to read more from Indigenous authors and educate myself more. And my friend who was doing their thesis on some Indigenous topics recommended this book and said it was really good. So I'm also excited to read that. So that was my very quick end of year physical TBR. I will be in the new year. I'm planning to talk about books a bit more on my channel. It'll be a little bit different because as a young adult author, I don't really like I don't say negative reviews. I really only talk about the books I like, so it's only going to be talking about the books I like, but it will be very sincere about the books that I enjoy. Speaking of, I finished, I'll pop up a little cover over here. I finished Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so, so good. Like, definitely tied with Iron Widow for my favorite book that I've read this year, of the whole year. It was just so good. The main character is so spunky, and it's so funny. Like, so much of it is so funny, and the characters are so lovable. And so it's a Goose Girl retelling, apparently, but it's about a girl, and she essentially steals the identity of a princess, and then she gets cursed, and it's a whole thing. It's very, very, very good. I highly recommend it. Yeah, I'm very excited. And I don't own it physically. I borrowed it from the library, but now I might have to buy a copy. So that was it for the book stuff. Now for the, I guess, my book stuff, for the writing stuff. So it's the end of this week. Obviously, it's Friday. And yeah, so I'm done for the week. It was really tiring this week. I ended up doing like a lot of couch writing because I was just like, I was tired to begin with. And so like the idea of like having me also walk on a treadmill, I was like, I just need to get this done. So if sitting is what makes me motivated to get this done, then I will do that. So Butcher Birds, I'm not at the midpoint yet. Again, I curse myself for writing a long book, but you know, that's the way it goes. But I'm not having to edit as much in the chapters as I thought I would have to edit. I thought I was going to have to make a lot of edits to fix the fact that I kept changing how certain things in the book would work, but I actually haven't had to. Those little things that I went back and tried to change were actually really good. And a lot of the stuff I added is so much like subtle hints that it was just me kind of like taking those out, but I am catching a lot of things, which I'm happy about. So it's really good, and it's good even just for me like getting those chapter summaries while I'm reading. So I'm finding that to be really effective, and I'm really happy that I'm doing this read through. My editor actually emailed me and she was like, hey, I actually can't get to your book the week I thought I could. I have to push it to 1 week later, so if you want to have another week for your deadline, you can. And I was like, oh yeah, and then my brain was like, I'm not fucking working on this book for 6 weeks. I'm just like, I'm not. I could expand 1 more week, but then it would mean that I had worked on this book literally the entirety of NaNoWriMo. I would have worked on like at least 2 projects, and I just like, I cannot. I would rather continue having the slightly higher workload for 2 weeks of me having to read through 5 chapters a day than me like splitting it so I can read like 3 chapters a day and just having to continue on with it longer. I can't do it. It's already too much. So and it's already like in very good shape based on how I'm editing, so I don't think I need more time. So I am gonna be done that next week, thank God. And then the Newlyweds, so I continue to be drafting that. I continue to be able to hit these drafting goals, which I'm really happy about, because my concern with this book is that it's really difficult for me to make the chapters longer because I like have such a fierce desire for it to be fast paced. And so I've already gotten myself into the mindset of like, there's a lot of like in between stuff that were in other books I would write. In this book, I cut right out because I'm trying to like keep the pace up. So I've had to slow down a bit and like add to those chapters, but I've been able to do it. I have reached a point now though where like the fact that I'm jumping in and just like jumping around and adding the chapters has now reached a point of chaos that is too much. So this chapter that I was gonna have to write on Monday, it's just like I'm looking at it and I'm looking at what I already have, and I was like, if you write this chapter without fixing the things that come before, you're just gonna end up having to rewrite it later, which I don't want to do. So my plan for next week, which I will reiterate in next week's vlog anyway, but my plan for next week is that I'm going to start editing. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and go through to edit everything that I have, and then I will add in the new chapters as I go. And I think that will work because I probably won't be at the point that I am now until the week after that, and by that time I won't also be working on Butcher Birds, so I'll have a lot more time to do a lot more work on it, because the bulk of that work is in the third act, so it's in like the end bit of it. So I think that process is going to work out really well. But I'm happy about the way the Newlyweds is going. There is now more death than there was previously, because I've added in some new subplots. So I added in a subplot in which one of the characters has like a connection to a new outside character, so then I had to add in the new character and bring them in and introduce them, and I had to do all the like, how are they connected to this other person thing. So that was part of it. And then another subplot, which is a new POV, but I've only written one chapter for that. Most of that will be in the third act. And then what was my other subplot? Oh, one more subplot I also kind of haven't gotten into yet, based on the way I've had to write the new chapters. So I have to figure that out, because I was pretty sure I was supposed to write that. I wonder if I skipped a chapter when I shouldn't have. I'll have to go back and check on that next week. But for this week, I'm taking the break on the weekend. I'm tired and I'm excited for a break. And then yeah, I will catch up back with you next week in the next week's writing vlog. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!